All right, welcome. Today is Tuesday, May 19th, Steam Powered PD. Today we're going to talk about Google Forms, setting up Google Forms and using them to do self-correcting quizzes. And the idea being that in these, doing more and more virtual education and doing more connections with kids, what are ways that we can get feedback from them, ways that are a little bit more authentic, and also make it so it's not too onerous on us educators, so that it's really hard, to kind of keep track of all the stuff and score it all and all that kind of thing. So we're going to go through the whole process of starting a brand new Google form from scratch, adding some questions, receiving some input, seeing the scores, adjusting those if need be, because obviously there are different types of questions, not just multiple choice, but if we wanted to do, short answer or maybe longer answer or that kind of thing. So we'll go through that whole process. Before we do that, we're going to answer some questions that came up from the last couple of days. One question that came up was a really good one, and something that I neglected to mention the other day when we were talking about Google Drive. And so this was a good one. If somebody wanted to not have a document convert to a Google Drive doc, so they had a Word file, they want to keep it as a Word file. Yes, they opened it and can view it in Google Docs or Google Drive, but they didn't want to have it convert. How would they do that? So I'm going to do my usual screen share here. Looks okay. All right. So we're going to go through the process of turning that ability to, when you upload something, to have it convert or not. So I'm going to go to my Google Drive. Now, normally if I wanted to upload a file, let's say it's a Word file or an Excel file or something like that, I click New, File Upload, and find the file. Now, when I uploaded it, it would say, oh, what do you want to do with that? And so in this case, if I want to make sure it doesn't convert it, in the upper right up here, this little gear, I can click on that, go to Settings, and right here it says Convert Uploads. Now, usually by default, it's on. Like, they want to convert those files. The problem with, let's say, a Word file, if it's just text, if it's basically just a bunch of text, when that converts to a Google Doc, it's usually probably okay. It's probably not too out of whack. But if you have a ton of formatting, let's say you're doing like a brochure or a newsletter, something with all kinds of tables and graphics and things all over the place, when you converted it to a Google Doc, it's probably going to get messed up. It's probably going to get pushed all around. So sometimes it's just easy to keep it as a Word file or whatever. The issue there would be, however, is that as a Word file, that means that if you wanted me to edit it with you or save it with you, I would have to have Word to be able to do that. Now, we do have Microsoft 360. They have more options now than ever as far as being able to convert those things right online. Very similar to Google Docs. And so we do have accounts that way, but generally speaking, if you convert it, then we're good to go. All right. So we're going to jump back to the, oh yeah, there's one other question I did want to answer before we went any further here from the questions from yesterday. Hello and welcome. So one other question from yesterday. In Google Classroom, sometimes attachments are not getting assigned to kids. It seems random. So two things about that. I think I mentioned this yesterday to Crystal. If you are assigning, one thing that happens is students will receive a document in Google Classroom, like you do an assignment. They receive that assignment. Depending on what age they are, if they automatically click Turn In, and this happens sometimes just by accident. Sometimes they just click on it because it's a bright blue button. What am I going to do? And click on it. And so what that means is they've submitted it to you, the teacher, for you to score or look at it or whatever. Well, if they haven't done anything yet, it just means that it's been turned in blank. And that does happen. When it's turned into you, they can only look at it. It's view only for the students. They can't edit it. They can't see anything. They can just view only. They can, however, unsubmit it. So they go back up to the same assignment, click unsubmit, and they'll get it turned back to them again. And that way they can keep working on it. One thing it's worth noting is whatever the last time they submit it to you or turn it into you as a teacher, that's when it's handed in. So let's say the due date and the due time is today. Well, if they hand it in before today, they're on time. They're not late. But if they do it after that, that would be considered late work. If they submit something and then unsubmit it and resubmit it again, whatever the latest time is they submitted that document or turned it into you, that's when it's handed in. So again, I've seen that happen with younger kids a lot. They just click turn in before they've actually done it. The other thing is, if it's not that, there's been a couple of cases we've seen in the district, and I'm guessing it's other places as well. I'm guessing that because Google Classroom is getting so used across the board everywhere right now a lot, that there's sometimes that maybe, you know, individual accounts kind of fall through the cracks and are not getting that assignment. So if a student on their end, if they have a document that you shared with them and you've assigned to them, and if they delete that document, that means that you won't have access to more. So make sure they're not deleting it as well, as far as just putting it in the trash or that kind of thing. If you have a student that deletes something by accident, well, from the tech department, we can restore up to 30 days. That means within 30 days, we can go back and restore all their documents that have been deleted. So if that's a problem, then just let us know. All right, so those are the 2 questions that came from the last couple of days. So what we're gonna do now is gonna go through the process of using Google Forms to create self-correcting quizzes, or quizzes that you could use. And again, it's a good way of interacting with students, getting feedback back and forth. So we're gonna go through the process from zero, from never having done it before, all the way through. So step number 1, I'm just going to go to google.com here, and I'm going to go to my Google Drive. So in the upper right-hand corner, click on the grid there, go to Drive. And I'm going to create a new Google form. So click New right here, go down to More and Forms. A form, just like it sounds like, is basically you're going to collect information. It's like a web form. Now, I'm in edit mode right now where I can edit this form. We're going to call this a sample quiz. So when students see this, that's going to be the header right here. I can just click on where it says untitled form and I will name it the same thing. I can adjust this if I want to. But this is going to be, like, I'm in edit mode right now. Students are going to receive the end version, the published version, where they can fill it in. For them, it's read only. That means they can add things to it, but they can't change anything. They can't change the questions. But you as the teacher, the creator, can come in here and edit this. So here's my sample quiz. The first thing I'm going to do is just purely cosmetic. In the upper right up here, this little custom, themes. This little, it looks supposed to be like I believe like a palette for an artist. I click on that. I can just change the colors if I want, and I can do this at any time. Anytime I change this, it won't affect the actual questions or the content inside of it. It's just the color scheme around it. I can choose a font style. Now I don't have a million things I can choose from. It's only a handful, but at least it's something. Right here, I can choose an image if I want. So if I want to choose one of these, and I think a lot of people have probably done this. We'll do one, let's see, we'll do a teacherly one here. I like this one here. It's kind of like science questions. All right, so here's my question. Again, if at any point I want to come back here and change the theme, I can just click on this. It will change it. It won't affect anything inside of it. Here's my sample quiz I'm going to use. Okay, so we're going to start with our questions. The first question is going to be, we're going to turn this into a quiz. So I'm going to do 5 questions, and each one's going to be worth, so many points, but I need to tell it that it's going to be a quiz. So up here, there's a little gear in the upper right. We click on that. I'm going to go over to quizzes right here, and I'm going to make this a quiz. What that means is it's going to assign point values. So each question will have point values, and you get to do that. You get to assign point values. And also it will have a response. At the end of it, it'll say, you got a, 80 out of 100 or whatever that is. You can turn that on whether or not you want them to see that immediately or not. So the first thing is I scroll down through these options here, turn on locked mode. Now, I wouldn't probably use this. In fact, I wouldn't use this in the situation we're in right now. What that means is if you have managed Chromebooks, like we do in our district, if you had a class, you could turn that on. And while students were taking the quiz, that's all they could use that machine for. So once a quiz came up, they click on it. That means that it's locked to just that thing. So they can't go to other tabs. They can't switch between tabs. They can jump around. At home, where they are right now, it probably doesn't matter, because even if that Chromebook is locked down, they could use another device and you wouldn't know it, right? So I wouldn't turn that on right now. But if you're back in the classroom, next year, this might be something you want to use if you're doing an exam or a quiz you don't want them to go to other tabs with. Releasing the grade. So again, depending what your needs are, if I'm doing a formative assessment where I have, 10 questions, maybe they're all multiple choice, and I want the students to immediately get feedback. So like they just take the quiz as a kind of like a building thing. They're learning from it to get response immediately. I might use it for that. But most of the time, I'm probably going to do it later after manual review. And that means that you're going to go in, look at the quiz and say, oh, they got this wrong, but maybe they got extra points for this or whatever it is. If you're going to score things individually, you might want to do it after manual review, and then you'll click a button and say, yes, now email that out. I would probably do that in this situation. Can the respondents see their missed questions, the correct answers, and the point values? Again, this is personal preference. If you want them to be able to see, you got this question wrong, Now, the benefit of that is that you can actually put in feedback right there. So let's say, for example, you were doing a formative assessment where you wanted them to take 10 questions, just kind of see how they're doing and get immediate feedback from, responses. You could say, number one, true or false, and they get it wrong. And you could have a little link come right up to say, oh, no, it's actually true, but you need to click here to go read this article or watch this video or look at this part of my website that I have about that topic. So you can give students immediate feedback built right into the system, which is really handy. So again, depending on whether or not you want them to see if they missed that question immediately or not. Do they see the correct answers? Now, if I was doing a 10-question quiz of all true or false, I may not want them to see if it's right or wrong immediately. And the reason why is because if they say, oh, true is wrong, so I'm just going to put false, like they would see what it is. And do you want them to see the point values? Do you want them to know that certain things are worth more than others? Again, these are all preferences on your part. If you want to turn these on or off, you can just click them on or off. So again, depends on what you're trying to do with them and what your purpose is. But I'm going to turn these off right now, so we'll kind of keep it clean. But again, you can turn those on if you want to. That looks good. I'm going to click Save. Okay, so now what you'll notice here, so I've got on the upper right here, it says total points. So I'm going to have how many points is this quiz going to be worth? Now I'm going to say out of 100, keep it easy, but you can adjust that. Also notice here this change. It says this form is automatically collecting email addresses for students in RSU 19. So if you want them to take a quiz, that automatically collects their email, so you know that they're the ones that took it. If I click Change Settings right here, I could turn that off. So I could open that up to anybody who could take that quiz. The problem with that would be, let's say the first question was, tell me your name. Well, anybody could type in anything. I could type in, I'm really Sally, and I'm taking the quiz for them, whatever. So by collecting the email addresses, that means that you're receiving, it was them. Now, there is a workaround around this for students. If they gave a friend of theirs their login and password, that's basically cheating, right? So that's a conversation you would have with them, as far as that goes. It's not, insurmountable. But generally speaking, if they're signed into their account, that means that they're going to be able to sign in and use it and go from there. Restrict users to RSU 19 in a trusted organization. I'm going to uncheck that for right now. But again, that means that if you're in your classroom, it probably wouldn't matter because students can be signed into their account. If I want to give everybody that's watching this video right now, this quiz, there are 2 or 3 people, I believe, that are outside of our district, right, outside of RSU 19. So I'm going to turn that off. Do I limit to 1 response? So if you're doing a quiz and you want, when they're done, they click submit, and that's it. They can only do it once. You would turn that on. Again, they're signed in. They're signed in with a Google account. That means that when they go back to that again, it'll say, oh, you've already done this once. You can't do it again. Again, depending on your needs, that might be a situation. I'm not sure if you want to or not. Can they edit after they submit? So let's say you said they click submit, they're looking at it, but you want them to be able to review their questions. So maybe they, you're taking a quiz with you, they have, half an hour, they're taking the quiz. When they're done, they hit submit, you can see it, but they can still see it now and say, oh, okay, look at it again, make sure it's okay. Oh yeah, question 2, I put something wrong. So they can go back in and keep editing it. That will stop after the last piece, when you've reviewed, you basically sent them the email of their results, like what they got on this quiz, then they won't go back to edit it at that point. And then finally, see summary charts as text respondents. Again, I probably would never have this turned on for quizzes because you're basically showing off, like, so what did the class do? Out of the 10 kids that took this quiz, 5 of them got 100 and 3 of them got 70s or whatever. Most likely I wouldn't do that. Where I would use something like that is if I was trying to teach students about, using charts. So maybe I asked students, what's your favorite ice cream? And I had 5 different flavors, and we would talk about charts, like, 20% of the class likes chocolate and 70% of the class likes vanilla or whatever. So that way I would probably want them to see the results as a shared group. But generally speaking, I probably would not. The other piece of this, so this is general right here. We did quizzes. We talked about general. The other thing in here is presentation. And again, you're going to turn this off. Do you want to show a progress bar or not? Again, that's just up to you whether or not you want to. You may want to shuffle the question order. So if they were in class together, again, right now they're not sitting next to each other, so it probably doesn't matter. But if they were in class together and all the questions would still be there for the students and all the answers that you put in would still be there, but do you want them, the actual order of the questions, to be different? Like I have a question 1, 2, 3, 4. Yours might be 3, 2, 1, 5, or whatever it is, like different orders of the same ones. Again, that's up to you whether or not you want that or not. And then finally, show link to submit another response. Probably turn this off. But if you want them, as soon as they're done the quiz, to be able to click on it and add it again. So if you are doing something where you want them to keep taking the quiz until they got 100 or got a really high score, you could keep turning this on, and maybe they take it the first time, didn't do so hot, so we're going to try it again and try it again. So, that kind of formative assessment rather than a summary assessment. And confirmation message. Again, if you want to say, nice job, thanks for doing your quiz, or whatever, you can type something in there if you want. It's worthwhile noting you can also paste a link in there. So if I said, nice job, and if I copied and pasted a link, so let's say I put in, I'll just put in rsu19.info as a link. This link will be clickable. And the benefit of that, it means when the students are done, if you want them, okay, when you're done your quiz, click this link and go, to this website and read silently or something like that. If you want them to direct them somewhere when they're done, that's a good way of doing it. Okay. I'm going to click save right here. All right, here's my quiz so far. I've got the top that I put in here, the image I chose, my sample quiz, email address. Again, as you notice, it automatically put this in, which means that when somebody records it, when somebody goes to it, it's going to ask them for their email address, and they have to put in a valid email address. The difference between right now, why this popped up where it wasn't up before, right now, because I opened up so anybody, not just RSU 19 students, can be inside this quiz and answer it. If I just wanted my own students, I would turn that on. Again, I would change this just to RSU 19, and it wouldn't have to ask for an email address, because when students sign in using their Google account, it knows what the email address is. Like, it's already connected. That's why. If I was doing this for younger students, that's probably what I would do. All right. Let's get to the questions. So coming down here, question number 1. So I'm going to do, like I said, a couple different questions showing different options, what that would look like. So the first question we're going to do is say, what is the Nokomis mascot? Okay, and the reason why I did this one, this is a definite yes or no answer. There's one answer to this question. There's not multiples. So what's a Nokomis mascot? If I choose over here as the type of different questions, I've got short answer, paragraph, multiple choice, checkboxes, and so forth. Well, in this case, for multiple choices, which is what we're going to do, there's only one right answer. So they can't have 2 or 3 different options. So the first one is the Warriors, which is the correct answer. Add option. I'm going to click right here. I'm going to say the Panthers. I should say Nokomis High School. Make sure everybody very specific. So the Warriors, the Panthers, we'll say the Hornets. It used to be the middle schools, and the Wildcats. So some of the other ones. Okay, so I chose 3 or 4 different answers, 3 or 4 different solutions. Each one of these only has one answer that's going to be the right one. If I click add other here, that means that I'll click it to show you, but I'm going to remove it. They could type in anything they wanted in here. And which I don't want, right? I want to only have certain multiple choices that they have to do. So I'm going to remove that one. By clicking the X over here, that removes that option. Here's my answer key. So what's the right answer? I'm going to click on answer key. I'm going to come in here and choose that. Okay, so they have to choose that one. And how many points are they going to get? They're actually going to get 20 points. They get this one right. Okay, if you notice here, I could have 2 choices. Right? So let's say they had to choose, let's say you had a question that had multiple answers that they had to get all of them right for. That means that they would have to choose both of these things. And if they didn't choose both of those things, they didn't get it correct. But I'm going to unchoose that one. So it should only be Warriors. Also, add answer feedback. Do I want to put in, if they get the correct answer, do I want to say, nice job? Or do I just want to leave it blank? Or do I want to put a link right here? So if they get the correct answer, maybe put a link or a video link. Or if they get the incorrect answer. Now, this I find really interesting. You can have it so if they get the incorrect answer, again, if you're doing that formative assessment where you want them to, here's a question. Did I get it wrong? Oh, I got it wrong. Oh, here's an option. I go learn more about it. You could have a direct video link. Maybe it's something that you created yourself, or a link to a website, or a link to an article, or something else. So if you're, referencing back to the assignment, the units that you created, you could have a link right here. And so if they get it wrong, say, click here for more information. Click here. And then the link would be whatever the actual link is. I'll just put kind of a dummy one to show you what it would look like. Okay, if I save that. But now, if they get the right answer or the wrong answer, right answer is correct, nice job. Wrong answers is try again. And then they would have that link would pop up for them. Okay, all right. That's a multiple choice question. That means there's only one option here. I'm also going to click done here. So here's my question. I'm also going to click required. Now required means they have to fill it in. They can't just leave it blank. We want students probably to get in the habit, especially if they're taking standardized testing, to get in the habit of filling all the answers. Even if they're not sure, at least make an educated guess so they can get it right. Other choices in here, because it's a multiple choice question, if I wanted to make this quiz so that if you chose certain things, let's say you chose Panthers rather than Hornets, whatever, it would go to a different set of questions. So it's almost like branch logic. I could do that here. Go to section based on answer. Again, I'm not going in this case. We're just going to have 4 or 5 questions kind of straight up, straight down. But if I wanted to go to different sets of questions, I really could get really complex and really complicated here. Also, shuffle option order. I'm going to check on that. What that means is that even though we all have the same question, this first one, these options inside of it will shuffle within there. Now, that doesn't shuffle which one's the correct answer. So even though the order might be different inside of the question itself, if you and I both have the same question, words will still be the right answer. So either one of them, it won't matter. So you can shuffle the answers themselves, and you can also shuffle the questions if you want to get really complicated about it. All right, that's a good first question. We're now going to add a new question. Over on the right side, right up here in the upper right, I'm going to click Add Question. Okay. And this question is, what is the capital of Maine? Now, for this one, I want to do a short answer. So I'm going to change multiple choice right here up to short answer. Okay. The short answer text right here. So what are they going to put in there? I'm going to click Answer Key. If I add the correct answer, A-U-G-U-S-T-A, okay, Augusta, cool. That is the correct answer. Now, that works. So students get that right, they're going to get 20 points. The problem is, let's say they typed in this. They typed in Augusta, but they did it with a lowercase a. Now, would you accept that? If you were giving a handwritten assignment and say, okay, what's the capital of Maine? And they wrote down Augusta, but they did lowercase, would you accept that? I would. Again, maybe I'm doing spelling and I really want to break down that. But again, it's up to you. But if you want to accept both of those versions, then you need to have both of them on there because it's basically going to match what you wrote. So if you're looking for a phrase, then that's a little bit harder because that means they would have to write that phrase in a couple different words, exactly the right thing. Even, for example, let's say I did this. So I did Augusta, but I put in a space at the beginning of it. Now, normally, students wouldn't do that, but let's say they added a space at the end of it. You wouldn't notice it, but it would be considered wrong. So you just want to be mindful. If you're doing a type of quiz or a type of exam that you want to make sure it's a single word or maybe even a couple words, but they know that it has to be capitalized the right way. If there is a space in there, they have to do it appropriately, that kind of thing. So you just want to be, explain that to your students how you're examining that. Like, I don't think it's a big deal as far as for the kids. I think they can figure that out, but you just have to be very clear of what your expectations are. So I'm going to put, if anybody put these in, either Augusta with a capital A, even though it's incorrect exactly, but Augusta with a lowercase a, or just Augusta with a space after it, mark all the other ones incorrect. That means these are the 3 ones that have to be correct for them to get their 20 points. Any one of those would work. Add answer feedback. Again, if I want to put in here where if they got a right or wrong answer, nice job. And again, I could put a link or a video directly here. Okay, click done. So this was a multiple choice question. This is a short answer question. I'm also going to make this one required. That means they have to put something in there. They can't just leave it blank. I'm going to add a new type of question up here on the right. The next one is going to be checkboxes. Now for checkboxes, you can have more than one choice. As I mentioned with multiple choice, I can see the circles here as choices. You only can have one. And if you choose a different one, it changes it to here. For checkboxes, you could have multiple ones. So I might say, which counties in Maine border Canada? If I want to start typing all the counties, and I could choose those, and I could choose more than one. Let's do Waldo. Going through here. And when they actually choose those, they can choose more than one option. However, I don't want to retype all these. I've got these already typed out once. You can also use existing questions you already have. So over here on the right, there's a link here that says import questions. If I click on that, I can import questions from an existing form. So if I already have a form, which I have one here called main, and I did this earlier, I can pull questions from that. So let's say you have a bank of questions and you can pull the ones you want to, so you don't have to redo them. I can click on here, select that, choose which question I want. So I'm going to click on that one, import. Here is my question right here. There's a Rustic. I'm going to delete the old one that I didn't want. And now I'm going to work on the one that I want. Now, I don't want multiple choice. I want checkboxes because I'm not choosing a single thing. I'm saying which counties of Maine border Canada. So again, that's not just one choice. It's, you know, 2 or 3 or whatever it is choices. So this will allow me to choose more than one thing. Now, if I go into the answer key, I can choose right here. We've got Aroostook is one of them. We've got Washington is another one. We've got Somerset. We've got Franklin. We've got Oxford. All right. So out of all the choices here, now this means that the students would have to get all of these things selected to get the right points in this one, to get the 20 points for this question. Okay. So again, this is one's a pretty difficult one, but in this case, we could put a map. Let's say we want to put a map of them for them to see that, so they can kind of reference that map as they're doing it. If I want to add an image here, I can come over to the right side. Oh, I'm going to make that one required as well. So I'm going to add an image over on the right side right here. Here it is. I could upload a picture I have. I could take a camera. I could put a direct image. I'm going to do a Google image search. I'm going to search for copies of Maine. And you'll see, here's one right here. The first one probably will work good. And so if my quiz is for them to reference a map right here, so this has the answers kind of right in here. Let's center that right here. We've got it. Counties, cool. And I can put this right with the quiz if I want to. Not only images, I could also add videos. Now, it's one thing worth the note for videos. They do have to be uploaded to YouTube. So in YouTube, you can upload a video, or you can just go search YouTube, find a video. If you have a video uploaded to YouTube, that doesn't mean it has to be public. It can be what's called unlisted. That means that if somebody searches for it, they're not going to find it. The only way they'll find it is if they have the actual address to that video. So I can upload my video to YouTube, have it there, put the link, make it unlisted, put the link there, come in here, copy it under URL, and you'd have it built right into it. You could have them play that as well. Okay. So there's a multiple choice. So this one's got different choices here. The last question I'm going to do here, quick one more, is a paragraph one. Now, paragraph one, by default, there's not going to be a single answer for it. It's going to be one that you're going to say, let's say, what is your favorite thing about Maine? Okay, so that's going to be, students can write all kinds of different stuff, right? And maybe you want to say, oh, it has to have at least, a paragraph or whatever, however you want to manage that. Again, the answer key, I'm not going to, in the answer key, I'm not going to put a right or wrong answer because, again, it's open-ended, right? It's the paragraph format. I will still give them, in this one, I'm going to give them 40 points. We've had 3 other questions with 20 each, so that will all add up to be 100 points. If you notice up here in the upper right, it says the total points. But this one, too, I can still give feedback if I want to. Again, if you want to link to something or put a video or something here, I'm going to click Done. But this one, the plan is you are going to actually look at for the different students, and you're going to go in and score them. Like you're going to look at what their response is right there, and you're going to put a number with that. I'm going to show you how to do that if you want to do a more open-ended thing. If I just wanted to do questions like this, where they're all just one answer, or if I'm okay with them writing a single word or a phrase and knowing that if they don't write it exactly like you have on there, then that's your choice, right? So this looks pretty good. These are my different choices. Again, I'm going to make that one required. So all the questions here are required. And I have out of my 100 points, and I'm ready to go. Now, if I go to my Google Classroom, I'm going to assign it now. I'm going to assign this quiz. A couple different ways I can do it. Up here, I can click the eyeball, the preview, and this is what it's going to look like. So the public version of this, I can see here, okay, my email address, I'll put that in here. Here's the questions. Here's my picture. Here's all the information here. This looks pretty good. If I want to send it directly. I could click send right here. I could email this to somebody. The benefit of email, usually we don't do email, but the benefit of it is if it's a short form, let's say it's got a couple questions, that can be right in the email itself. So they actually can answer your questions without having to even leave the email. But usually I'm probably going to send them a link. If I click the little link icon right here, I can shorten that right there, and I could copy that and I could email that direct to somebody. I can also embed it. So if you want to embed that form in, for example, like a Google site, I would copy this information right here and go paste it into the embed form right here. So these all are pretty typical examples. Let me cancel on here, but we're going to put it in our Google Classroom. So I'm going to go back to my Google Classroom. Let me go to my sample class. I just went to classroom.google.com. I'm going to go to classwork and I'm going to add a new quiz. So I'm going to go to create. Here's my quiz assignment. Okay, this is called sample quiz. I clicked away from it. Okay, I can add instructions. I can create a new blank form right here, right built into this. Again, this is just like what we just did, basically. The steps, the only difference is we're doing it right here from Google Classroom. Or, I'm going to undo that one, or I'm going to add an existing one, and let's go add the quiz that we have. There it is. And there's our quiz. Again, you could turn on the lockdown mode. I do not recommend doing that now in our situation. But if I was in a classroom where I'm walking around the classroom, seeing kids on it, if you have an issue, I'm right there, I might turn it on then, but I wouldn't probably in this situation. Grade importing. When they're done, do you want those grades from that quiz to automatically go into your Google Classroom gradebook? Now, I haven't talked a lot about Google Classroom Gradebook. Different people use it differently. One thing it's worth noting is that Google has released a new API that's going to allow us to connect Google Classroom scoring with other services like Infinite Campus or like PowerSchool or like Blackboard, some of these other ones. Again, it's beta right now. It's not open to the public yet. It's not widely used, but they are working on that ability to put scores right in Google Classroom and have them automatically port right directly to another service like Infinite Campus, what we use in our district. So that'll be super exciting when that happens. So here's my quiz. How many points are there out of 100? Do I give it a due date again? In this situation, virtually, I might say, okay, I want you guys to have done this quiz, guys, by Friday or something like that. I'll just say by Friday. We want to have it completed it. Topic, we talked about this before. I will put this under Unit 2. I think it is important to have these under topics. It's just easier for students to find them later on, if you can. And then a rubric, again, I'm not worrying about that in this situation. So if I assign that quiz, we're going to assign that. Here it is, a sample quiz, and I can see how many people have done it and how many not. Let's go. I'm going to do one example for myself. I'm going to take it as if it's me to show you what it would look like. So if I go to my quiz here, this is the view that students are going to get. It's going to look like this. Notice it's automatically already selected my email by default, and it would do that for them. So they don't have to sign in. If they're already signed into their Google account on their Chromebook or whatever device they're on, it's there. They don't have to worry about that. It won't let them take the quiz unless they sign in. They can't take it anonymously. They have to be signed in because you checked that box. What's the Nicobus? Okay, I'm going to choose a wrong answer here to show you kind of what happened. So it's the Warriors, but I'm going to say, oh, it's Wildcats, just to show it's wrong. What's the capital of Maine? I'll put the correct one with the correct spelling. I typed that incorrectly, no extra space here. The borders, so I know Aroostook was up there. If I come down here, let's look. Okay, so Washington. I can kind of scroll up and down and see these. Somerset. Again, I have to get them all correct for this to work. So if I add an extra one or if I take one away, it won't work. What was that? Franklin. And then finally, Oxford. Okay, I don't think I could do that without a map in front of me. But so here are the different counties, the ones that border Canada. Cool. Keep scrolling down. What's your favorite thing about Maine? I love the people. All right, we'll keep it at that. So again, they can type in there as long as they want. This is an open-ended box here. But I'm going to show you how you're going to get to score. You're going to put scores with it. So when I click submit, that's going to give me some information. Okay, so we just put nice job. When you're done, click here, and that sends us to another website. In this case, our r19.info site. So if you wanted them, look, guys, when you finish the quiz, when you're done, if everybody else isn't finished yet, click on here and go do this thing. You could do that. Your little directions. Let's come back to the quiz here. So this is your edit mode. This is you as the teacher looking at this. I can kind of scroll down. Okay, good. Responses. I've had one response. Click on that. So if you have multiple students taking this, let's say I had 20 students, this would show how many responses. You can turn on and off accepting response. You can say, okay, I don't want to accept responses now. Oh, yes, I want to turn it back on. So if I had one period of the day using this, I would turn it on, let them do it. Then I might turn it on afterwards so that they're done. I know everybody's done that by a certain time or date. What's my average, median? Again, these are all the groups combined. Now, I only have one person here, but if I had multiple people, this would combine them as an average. Frequently missed questions. So right now, I got this one wrong, but it would show you those kind of things. If I want to release scores, but I'm ready to send all the scores out to all the students that have taken the quiz, I would click this. I'm not going to do it yet. I'm going to show you why. But this is what I'm ready to do that. I would click that release scores. Again, all the different responses here, how many people got it correct. Okay, if you want to, this is what's going to happen. Most likely, you're going to go by individual. So if I look by one person at a time, now I've only got one person, but if I have multiples, I could click next, 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 and it would go through each student. And I could, for example, scroll down and see, oh, he got number 1 wrong. Oh, I can see right there. But if I scroll down the bottom here, I can see that, okay, he answered this one. What did he get for a score? I'm going to read his response. Other people, oh, good response. I'm going to give you 40 points out of 40 there. Or again, you can give whatever you wanted. That's going to save that. And that means that now that student, instead of getting that one wrong, you gave the points for it. Okay. So again, if you have things that you want to score, but they're open-ended, that's how you would do it. You'd scroll through, and then when I'm done that one student, I would say, okay, I'm done with him, click next, and go to the next one. I can also jump directly to, if I have a bunch of students here, I could jump right to that one individual student. When I'm done, and I'm like, okay, yep, I'm happy with this, I've scored him, he got 80 out of 100 points, I can release the score of just that one student. That means that if I click this, they're gonna get an email of their responses, of their results. Oh, you got an 80 out of 100 or whatever. Maybe I don't want to do everybody at once. Maybe I only want to do certain individuals. Send emails. And now, boom, all the students have decided to tell them, not only you got an 80 out of 100, but this is the one you got wrong. That was up to you. You did that setting to say, do I release, do I show them the missed questions or not? Again, up to your choice. So I'm going to jump back one more here to the last thing here under questions. If you want to see the views by question themselves. So for example, if I look at this first question right here, oh, 100% of the kids got it wrong. Maybe that's a bad question. Maybe I asked it wrong, or maybe I, didn't do a good job explaining it or whatever. That's good for you to kind of revisit and look through and see what you need to do to make sure your questions are reflecting what you want them to. All right, the last thing I'll share, and again, you may or may not use this depending on what your needs are. I can connect the results, if I want to a Google spreadsheet. And the reason why you might want to is if you want to do more detailed things with that spreadsheet, you may not need to. If you just need to see the results and send those to the students, you might be done. But if I click this under responses and click this little green button here, do I want to create a new spreadsheet from that? Sure, I'll create that. And here are my results, the same results that I just had. Notice here it has the new score reflected. So that's the one that you went in and changed. If you need to change it again, I could change it right here. Oops. Click off from that. But these are the results. If I want to look through here, I can do more stuff with it. This will, again, I can come back to the form as well. So basically, the form is where I ask the questions. It connects to the spreadsheet, and it will dump all the results from that form into that spreadsheet if you need it, if you want to use it, and go from there. Then I come back to the classwork here. Let me refresh this. And kind of jump and click right to it from here. So this shows me I've already responded, and so my account's already responded. I checked to only allow them to do it once. If I hadn't done that, it would say, okay, go ahead and take it again. Again, depending on what your needs are. If this is a formative quiz, you want them to keep taking it till they get 100, maybe that's an option. That's up to you. All right, so let's jump back here. I'm going to look at some of the questions. Okay, so a couple questions that came up. Can you limit to, this is from Crystal, can you limit to one response and edit after submit? Yes, I think we covered that. Right when your choices, one of those little boxes in the settings is limit once or multiples. Again, that's up to you. So you can just check that if you want to. What did you click on for the questions to change based off the answer? So it has to be a multiple choice question. That's the only one this works for. And in multiple choice, you can say in the lower right-hand corner, there's like the 3 little dots says, do you want to go to a different section based on answer? So let's say, for example, my first question is, what grade are you in? 5th, 6th, 7th, or 8th. And depending on which choice they take, let's say I'm in 6th grade, that goes to a different set of questions. Those questions are organized by section. So when you insert a new section, that'll be the 6th grade section, and then those questions will be in there, or the 5th grade section, or whatever. The only thing to note that when you're done that question, that section, if you want to bring them back to go to your original ones, you have to put a question at the very end that says, oh yeah, go back to your same set of questions. Think of it almost like I would map it out first. I would physically draw on a piece of paper, okay, this set of question goes here, and then they're going to jump over to here and kind of plan it out ahead of time. You can always drag things around if you want to. You can drag it up and down and move questions around, but that's what that's for. Another question, I tried to watch a Khan Academy video. When the kids tried to watch it, it was restricted. I'm not sure about that. Was that a Khan Academy video that was a YouTube video, or is it in Khan Academy itself? I'd have to, maybe send me the link if you want to. I can kind of check that out. Once you make your form, can you go back and shuffle the order? Yes, you can shuffle those around. It won't matter. The students will see whatever the last version you did is. And when they see that, if you've moved things around, if you added answers inside there, it won't change that. It won't take that away. So you can move those things around. The only thing I would say is this. I would probably, if I was going to ask the kids like their email address or their name at the very beginning, I would probably keep that at the very beginning of it and ask all the questions after that. Yes, super excited about Lincoln with the Infinite Campus. The absolute yes. That's again. It's not going to happen for a little while because they're in beta version right now. But someday we're hopeful that the API will be opened up so that we can connect Google Classroom scores directly with Infinite Campus or PowerSchool or whatever you're using in your district. So the option to add feedback when I go to that. Okay, so let me pull that up because that's a good question. The question was about adding feedback. So right now I'm in the edit mode. Get to my screen shows here. Okay, good. I'm in the edit mode of a form. If I add feedback under answer key right here for this question and add feedback, this is for everybody. That means that every student that takes this quiz, if they get it right, they're going to see this feedback. If they get it wrong, incorrect, they're going to see this feedback. I change it to be for everybody. If I go to responses, the feedback in here, again, will be for everybody. It's not going to be for just that one student. If you want to leave feedback for that student, I recommend I would do that in Classroom, in Google Classroom. If I go to the assignment in here, right now I don't have any students in here that have taken it, but you can leave feedback in Student Class. I'm going to import the grades here to show you what that looks like. Again, we only have one person, which is me. But that will pull that into Google Classroom. You can sort and you can add, individual feedback by student. Maybe say, hey, nice job. Don't forget about question 2 or whatever. These feedback, the things that are in forms, are for everybody who takes that quiz. That was a really good question. How to change the question order? Sure, absolutely. So if I go to the questions in here, let's say I want the first question to actually be, let me click done here. So the first question to actually be, what's the capital of Maine? If I put my cursor over that question, notice here the dots here, there's like, I don't know, 6 dots here. I can click it, hold that down and drag that up. And now that's my first question. Again, it won't affect the answers inside of it. That's all good. But now the next question is going to be this one, and I can kind of drag those up and down. If I wanted to do that multiple choice thing to add to a new section, the first thing I would do is over on the right side here, I'm going to add section right here. And let's say this section is called Counties of Maine. Okay. So if I want this quiz, depending on what they choose, to go to different sections, I'm going to go, again, this only works for multiple choice type questions. Here are the different type of questions. So here's the right answer we know and the wrong answers. I can say, and click on this. So I said, go to section based on answer. So let's say the question was, if they choose the right answer, the very first question they say, if they said Warriors, I'm going to have them go directly to submit and they're done. They got it right. They're good. But if they got it wrong, I want them to go to this, the Counties of Maine question. Okay. So I right now have 2 sections. I have this first section up here. And now if I scroll down, I have this second section. And again, I added this by clicking this little icon right here. So Counties of Maine. So depending on what they choose, if they choose this first one, if they choose Warriors, it's going to go right to the submit form. They're done. It goes to the end of the form. If they choose any of these other ones, it's going to go to section 2, which is right here. And you can make those bounce around any way you need to. You can have them go to different sections. You can add a bunch of sections. Again, I can even drag these up. If I want to move these sections up, if I want to move this section, I can click on that and drag that up and down. The only thing I would say about using in multiple sections and doing that is I would definitely plan it out first. I wouldn't try to kind of do it on the fly because it can get really confusing. Everything here looks linear top to bottom, which it kind of is, but you can kind of jump around if you have different sections. So I would just kind of plan it out first, and then I would add my questions and that kind of thing. Okay. Awesome. These are great questions. Hopefully that's helping everybody. So with that, I think that's a great place to stop. Again, we're starting to connect these things. We did, Google Drive. We did forms. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about docs and spreadsheets again, I believe. Or actually, tomorrow, I believe, is docs. And let me just double check real quickly here. Tomorrow is Wednesday. Yeah, docs and slides. Again, we'll use those as connected to Google Classroom. And then for Thursday, we're going to do sites, so Google Sites. Now, we talked about using Google Slides as a website previously, but this kind of is using Google Sites as your homepage for everything, basically. Most teachers right now have been using Google Classroom as their homepage, and that's fine because all our students are joined. The benefit of using Sites, that we'll talk about on Thursday, is the idea where if you want, mom and dad to see something, and we'll talk about that integration. Like, how do I take my classroom Google Calendar that the students are going to see and put that into my Google site so mom and dad can see it, or that kind of thing. We'll talk about all these things coming together. So I think with that, that's a great place to stop. Thank you guys. Thanks everybody for being here. Oops, I'm sorry I missed a question. Somebody said, what about Dennis's question? I'm sorry if I missed that. Okay, so I'm sorry, I scrolled by that one. So the question was, if a student takes a quiz multiple times, will they only see their best score or every attempt on my list? Good question. And the answer is they'll see every attempt. So if you only let them take it once, they're only going to see that one time. But if you will let them take the question multiple times, then when you click release scores, they're going to get an email for every time they took that quiz. So if you take it 3 times, they'll see each version of that. Again, depending on what you need. Maybe you do want that, maybe you don't want that. If you always want to have the latest and greatest one to do that. Cool. All right, guys. Thank you very much. We will see you tomorrow at 1. Take care.